Hello. I'd like to tell you of an electrifying event in the history of this village. One of the really lovely villages of Britain, even on a cold and bitter day like this. This is Clapham cum Newby in the West Riding of Yorkshire. Population around 200. 56 small grey homes. Early closing day for one of the shops, Thursday. For the other one, Saturday. Evening classes 4 nights a week, Women's Institute once a month. There was an Anglian settlement here in the 7th century, but since then I doubt if the tempo of village life has changed very much. 2 gamekeepers' cottages were built, a few years ago, and that's the only building that Clapham has seen in the past century. But in 1896, something very remarkable happened to Clapham. At a time when even big cities were gaslit, if they were lit at all, Clapham became the very first village in Britain to have electric street lighting. Think of it, 10 outside electric lights. Why, 65 years ago, amid these dark, lonely dales and fells, they must have seemed like Blackpool illuminations. As years went by, these streetlights increased in number until there were as many as 15, all provided free by an enlightened lord of the manor. Of course, in those days, there wasn't much traffic, there wasn't much need for street lighting. There were no evening classes then, and the villagers didn't go out much after dark. But nevertheless, this most benevolent squire bathed the deserted lanes in unusual light. So Clapham, uncommon Clapham, the independent electric village, moved into the 20th century. And for 65 years, its streetlights provided their comfortable illumination, while the remainder of the country slowly followed Clapham's bright path. Followed and then overtook this pioneer village. For today, Clapham has fallen back into the dark ages. The lights have gone out all over Clapham. But how has this thing come to pass?
Well, because the generator, unfortunately, is not functioning correctly. And gradually now, the governor on the turbine is no longer on. The governor started to go wrong. The overhead street wiring has started to deteriorate and fall apart. And also, the grid was getting blocked up with leaves, and it was mean cleaning it out about 2 or 3 days a week. And it's just cannot be guaranteed to give electricity at the moment.
Yes, the street wiring's falling apart, and darkness has descended upon Clapham. For the new squire of Clapham, an Australian doctor who a few years ago inherited these 3,000 acres, the squire is unwilling to go on lighting the villagers' way. And today, beside its waterfall, the Clapham power station, having shed its load, stands dark and still. So this is the generating station?
Yes.
Can we have the light on?
Well, we'll turn the switch and turn the generator on. It should work from the street light. And now, opening up the valve to let through the water, which goes along the pipeline to the Pelton wheel, which has a direct drive to the generator. Now, unfortunately, the generator is not working correctly, otherwise we should have had light up there by now. I think the carbon brushes probably want attention.
And look, no light.
No light.
Mr. Guy, you're the clerk to the parish council here. What happened when the lights of Clapham went out?
Well, the squire who owns the estate has provided this light free from the water-driven turbine. And he gave us notice last August that he could no longer maintain and supply the lights. And they would finish at the end of the year. So the parish council called a meeting, a public meeting in the village hall, and it was left to me to organise a subscription. And I circularised all the houses in the village, and a week later I collected all the forms, and the result was £160, £100 short. Some people didn't want to subscribe at all because they didn't go out at night, they said. Others thought it should be on the rates. Others said everybody should subscribe, otherwise we won't pay. And a few offered a small amount, £1 or £2. And so the council called another meeting, and we discussed what to do, and it was decided to leave it for at least 6 months and see if the dark winter nights would change the opinions of the people who didn't want to pay.
So Clapham has become dark for the want of £100?
Yes.
Well, the villagers who've been born and brought up to expect lighted streets must have been very upset when the squire removed this paternal support and darkness fell.
No, they weren't particularly. They bought torch batteries.
So this village, once in the van of progress, slips back 65 years for the want of £100. And the villagers buy batteries and just don't care. Well, I suppose it is understandable. After the garish neon nightmare of our cities, our harsh-lit cities, what a relief it is to come back to the enveloping, comforting darkness. After all, who needs streetlights? Good night.